Hello, sixth graders. The date is October 5th, 2020, and we're going to do a quick recap of Chapter 4 of Percy Jackson. So, in going into Chapter 4, we learned that Percy faced many challenges and he had to overcome those challenges. But we discussed that in detail last week. Today, we're just going to do a quick recap going over what we learned in Chapter 4. So the chapter opens up with Percy and Grover in the back seat of Gabe's Camaro with Percy's mom driving it. And Percy is kind of freaking out because he learns that Grover is a half human, half animal. Percy referred to him as a donkey, and Grover became incredibly offended, letting him know that he's a satyr, which is simply half human, half goat, and they are essentially protectors of half-bloods. This chapter progresses as Percy becomes increasingly frustrated because he's being chased by all of these things. His life is in danger and he has no idea why. And he becomes even more frustrated because Grover and his mom know things about him that he doesn't know. Also, Percy notices that the mentor cannot see or hear well. They can only track people by their scents or what they smell like. The climax of the chapter hits when Gabe's car essentially crashes and they have to get out of the car. In the process, Grover becomes injured, and the only thing that he can do is consistently whine and say, "Food." So basically, he was no help at all. Sadly, the chapter progresses as Percy's mom is basically squeezed to death by the Minotaur, and she vaporizes and turns into gold dust right in front of them. And Percy was incredibly upset because remember, at the time he was also trying to help Grover, so he couldn't get to his mom in time. So he basically avenged her death by protecting Grover and killing the Minotaur. But he did note that the Minotaur, when it was killed, it turned into ash. It didn't evaporate into gold dust as his mother did. And the chapter ends as Percy wakes up to the voice of a beautiful mystery girl, I might add, and his former teacher at the camp that his mother told him about. And when he woke up, the beautiful mystery girl was saying, "This is him. He's the one." And they tried to quiet her. So obviously, there was something that they did not want him to know. So, with that recap, let's go and take a look at your assignment for the day. All right, so for our lesson today, we're going to take a look at our mid-unit assessment. So it simply reads, in the previous lesson, you did some thinking about Chapter 4, My Mother Teaches Me Bullfighting. And on this assessment, you get a chance to show what you know about how to analyze this novel on your own. You may use the text and any notes from Chapter 4, Purpose for Reading, we completed together. So we discussed all of these things last week, and we did our challenges and responses over in Flipgrid. So, number 1, after a first read, what was your initial sense of what the chapter was mostly about? Just write a 1 to 2 sentence gist. And remember, we talked about the gist being a quick summary of the text. So the only thing that you have to do is just retell me in 2 sentences what chapter 4 was primarily about. Then part 2 says, reread pages 40 through 42 and think about the challenges Percy faces and his responses to those challenges in the form of choices he makes during this portion of the text. Complete your T-chart below, citing evidence from the text. Be sure to actually quote sections of the text in your response. So this is what we've been doing all along, using text evidence. So you will simply tell me, what was the challenge Percy faced? What was his response? This is something that we've done at least 3 times so far with Percy's challenges and responses. So that's the only thing that you're going to do here today. You're just going to give me those challenges and responses. So you are just going to pick 2 challenges that Percy faced. So you'll write a challenge here and a challenge here. You will use evidence from the text. You'll tell me how he responded on this side, evidence from the text. Okay? The final part of your assessment, these 2 questions here. What do Percy's choices tell us about his strengths in this section? Cite evidence from the text, pages 40 through 42. So hint, hint, told you where to look for it. And then number 4, we all have strengths and weaknesses. Based on the choices Percy makes in pages 40 through 42, do you have a good opinion of him? Why or why not? Cite evidence from the text to support your answer. Okay? So that is your assignment for today. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 questions total. Please be sure to fill out each and every box before turning this assignment in. Okay? See you in class.